the bipartisan solution on school safety that President Trump is looking to get on the table today.
If there is any American whose life and life's work deserves to be honored by laying in honor in the U.S. Capitol, it's Billy Graham.
Remembering America's pastor, a rare privilege for the late Reverend Billy Graham, lying in honor at the U.S. Capitol. We are there live where President Trump is expected to pay his respects today.
And she once called for his impeachment and threatened to move to Canada. Barbara Streisand, not shy about her feelings for the president, and apparently now she thinks Hillary really won the election. Fox and Friends First continues right now.
Touch that track, it turns into gold. Yes, it turns to gold. Everybody knows.
All right, a live look at Washington, D.C. at 5 a.m. here on the East Coast. And a happy Wednesday to you, halfway through the week.
I love the song, I'm not going to lie. It reminds me of Pitch Perfect.
Yeah, good old Pitch Perfect, one of my favorite classics. All right, good morning. You're watching Fox and Friends First on this Wednesday. I'm Rob Schmidt.
And I'm Jillian Mealy. Thanks so much for starting your day with us. Students and teachers return today to the scene of the high school massacre in Parkland that killed 17 people.
That's right. In Washington, President Trump meeting with lawmakers trying to work on school safety. Kelly Wright joins us live from our nation's capital with what we can expect today. Hey, Kelly.
Rob and Jillian, good morning to you as well. Students return to classes amid a lot of debate amongst lawmakers over new gun laws. It's back to school time for students at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Classes resuming today, exactly 2 weeks after a former student opened fire, killing 17 students and teachers. Some students worry about their safety and have some concerns beyond gun legislation.
None of our glass is being replaced with bulletproof glass. None of our locks are able to be locked from the inside now.
That's David Hogg, and he and other student activists are credited for causing state and national lawmakers to take up a number of proposals on gun legislation, like raising the age of buying a rifle from 18 to 21, a 3-day waiting period, allowing teachers to carry concealed weapons in certain districts, and funding more money on mental health programs in schools. On Tuesday, Florida legislators heard from parents of murdered Parkland students.
I want this country to come together as one party. We're the human party. We're not the Democratic Party. We're not the Republican Party. We're the human party. We all need to come together and discuss school safety.
It seems Florida Governor Rick Scott agrees, and he is seeking reforms to increase school safety, plus make it virtually impossible for anyone with mental illness to ever use a gun.
We need to pass reforms to make it virtually impossible for anyone who has a mental illness or danger to themselves ever to use a gun. My plan is to spend $500 million to make our schools safe, to invest the dollars in mental illness to make sure this never happens again.
So that's what's happening in Florida. Meantime, here in Washington, President Trump plans to meet with bipartisan members of Congress to discuss plans for improving school and community safety. But Rob and Jillian, that could prove to be an uphill battle as Congress continues to debate gun legislation.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of this right out in the open in front of everybody's eyes as they try to work on a solution. Kelly, thank you so much. All right, a Fox News alert. 11 people are sick, 3 of them in the hospital after a suspicious letter is opened at Marine Corps headquarters. An envelope with an unknown substance mailed to Joint Base Meyer-Henderson Hall in Virginia. It's now being sent to Quantico for testing. Also inside, a letter that is said to have some derogatory language. It's unclear exactly who sent this letter. Everybody affected by it, though, is expected to be okay.
A previously deported illegal immigrant wanted for a decades-old murder is nabbed at the border. Alejandro Rodriguez Valencia taken into custody in Arizona shortly after entering the country. That's when agents linked his fingerprints and photo with a murder warrant in Chicago from back in 1982. He will now be extradited to Illinois. And a big legal win for President Trump and his key campaign promise.
We are going to build a great border wall.
The same U.S. district judge President Trump once called out for being biased against him, now clearing the way for our commander-in-chief's long-promised border wall. Back in 2016, Judge Gonzalo Curiel was overseeing a lawsuit involving Trump University, which ended up being settled out of court. The new ruling allows the administration to waive regulations to begin construction. President Trump praising the decision, tweeting, quote, U.S. judge sided with the Trump administration and rejected the attempt to stop the government from building a great border wall on the southern border. Now this important project can go forward.
Going to analyze that more coming up later in the show. The standoff intensifying between the West Wing and House members investigating alleged Russian collusion in the presidential election. White House Communications Director Hope Hicks, the latest to take the hot seat on Capitol Hill during the 9-hour closed-door interview. Hicks answering every single question focused on the Trump campaign and transition period, but refusing to talk about her time since President Trump took office.
Her testimony, I thought, was exceptional. She answered in excruciating detail every question about the campaign, every allegation, any type of cooperation between the Trump campaign and Russia. As far as I was concerned, I think any rational observer, she debunked all of that.
Well, frustrated Democrats then trying to subpoena Hicks, but Republicans refusing to take that step.
Attorney General Jeff Sessions forming a brand new task force taking aim at drug makers. The team will pursue legal action against manufacturers accused of deceptive marketing leading to the opioid crisis.
It is the resolute policy of this administration and this Department of Justice to reduce these overdose deaths, to reduce addiction, and to reduce the amount of prescription opioids that are afoot in our country.
The Department of Justice is seeking reimbursement for medical costs of the crisis, which totaled more than $4 billion in 2016.
U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, arriving in Honduras overnight. Haley shaking hands with the president and thanking the Hondurans for their support in recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Honduras, one of just 8 countries who voted with the U.S. to relocate its embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. During her visit, Haley will also discuss ways to stop drugs from flowing into the United States.
The Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem reopens 3 days after Christian leaders closed it. They had been protesting plans by Jerusalem to collect taxes from church-owned properties.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Jerusalem's mayor agreed to suspend the tax plans while they negotiate with church leaders on a solution.
The church is believed to mark the burial site of Jesus Christ.
Today, President Trump will join our nation's lawmakers honoring America's pastor, the late Billy Graham.
The evangelist becoming the 4th private citizen ever to lie in honor in the Capitol Rotunda. Griff Jenkins is there with a preview. Good morning, Griff.
Hey, good morning, Jillian and Rob. In just a matter of hours, history will be made when Reverend Billy Graham comes to receive one of the nation's highest distinctions. He will, as you mentioned, be only the 4th in history to do so. The first 2 were Capitol Police Officers Jacob Chestnut and John Gibson, officers that were killed here in the Capitol behind me in 1998. The third person, civil rights pioneer Rosa Parks. And it is certainly a day that is very special. Here's what Speaker Paul Ryan had to say.
If there is any American whose life and life's work deserves to be honored by laying in honor in the U.S. Capitol, it's Billy Graham. So it's an honor for us here in the Capitol to receive Reverend Graham's casket and to greet his family. So that's something we're very proud to do.
The pastor who counseled 12 presidents and spread the gospel in more than 185 countries will lie in honor. It's just a little different from lying in state. That's reserved for past presidents like Ford, Reagan, and Kennedy, who have all done so here. Let me tell you about today. At 10 a.m., the motorcade carrying Reverend Graham's casket will arrive the East Capitol Plaza. At 10:30, the Graham family will gather here at the East Front. At 10:45, the procession carrying Graham's casket up the steps will occur. And at 11 o'clock, a service begins. The president will lay a wreath, and it's a day steeped in tremendous history. So we asked our own congressional historian and Capitol Hill producer Chad Pergram about it. Here's what he had to say.
They will use what they call a catafalque. This is a vocabulary term for you, catafalque, which is a fancy way of saying a pine platform. They built this pine platform for President Lincoln's funeral back in the 1800s, and they have used this virtually for every state funeral since. The fact that we haven't had any ceremony like this since 2012 tells you a great deal about just how significant this is.
That last person in 2012, Senator Daniel Inouye of Hawaii. After the ceremony at noon, at 1 o'clock, the public will be let in. Reverend Graham's body will remain here under guard by the honor guard overnight and return to North Carolina tomorrow. And, of course, the funeral in Charlotte at the Reverend Graham Library on Friday. Guys?
It's a great honor for a very impactful man. Griff, thank you so much.
It is 10 minutes after the hour. Bomb detection devices to take on terrorists. The brand new layer of security at one of the busiest train stations in America.
Also ending the war on cops. A Chicago police officer killed in cold blood. One lawmaker saying enough is enough. Representative Chris Welch joins us live next with his brand new bill.
The main gift is you, and I love you.
Oh my gosh, and this little girl on a mission to make sure police know they are appreciated. You don't want to miss this story. And Fox and Friends First continues.
Hey, welcome back. Jeff Flake is fueling speculation about a possible White House run in 2020. A harsh critic of President Trump, the Arizona senator is set to appear at a Politics and Eggs event in New Hampshire next month, where he'll deliver a speech titled Country Over Party. Flake, who announced in October that he would be retiring from the Senate, has not ruled out the possibility of a primary challenge to sitting President